Well, hello everyone out there in the football world. I am your host, Sanders of the Head Couch Analyst Show. As always, I am joined by my co-host, who is more popular on Twitter than I am, Head Couch, Ondel Sports Pardue. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good, man. I'm here, sipping my Miller Lite, enjoying a pretty good season so far. It's been a while since the Cardinals have been having consistent success and consistently winning, so it's been a good fall so far. Having a good time.
Yeah, this is a way different tune than you and I were singing 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I was. And after those 2 weeks, I wasn't too worried yet. I wasn't panicking like a lot of my fellow Cardinal fans were. I was disappointed for sure, but like I've said multiple times, I feel like this is a team that plays up and down to its competition and plays. It wakes up and plays in the big moment. And you saw that week 1 versus the Niners, and they beat a bad team in Washington, and then they played down to their opponents week 3 and week 4 versus the Panthers and Lions, games they should have won. And then they have a really shitty opponent, which they really didn't even play that good of a game against in the Jets. And then you're in the bright lights of Monday Night Football playing, while they're not good this year and they didn't have Dak Prescott, you're still in the bright lights of Monday Night Football playing the Cowboys. So you're going to be up for that game, and they beat the brakes off them and win by 4 touchdowns. So, I mean, I'm having a good time. And then got a big fun one this week, so.
Yeah, I went into a heart attack over the weekend, man. As soon as the Eagles got the ball back and it was 22-30, I was like, this spells upset all over it. They've been walking all over us this whole fourth quarter. They're going to go and score the touchdown. They scored the touchdown, and I was like, great. They're going to get the 2-point conversion. And then probably, an onside kick or something like that. And then we held them on the 2-point conversion. I just breathed a sigh of relief. I didn't even celebrate it. Like, I just watched the 2-point conversion fail, and I was like, live for another day.
Right.
Which at that point was really all I could ask for. So I'm happy my team is 5-1. I'm happy they have a bye week this week because I think a loss was coming up for them real quickly to a bad team if they didn't have a bye week to reassess everything. So and then breaking news today, the Ravens just traded for Yannick Ngakoue today. I don't know how I feel about it yet. Mostly because
we can get into it here in a minute.
Mostly just because I don't understand the long-term implications of it. It feels more like a rental, but that's a rental for minimum 10 games, maximum 13, 14. So I don't know how I feel about it yet. And I didn't like his attitude with Jacksonville. And if Minnesota wanted to get rid of him after 6 games, I'm afraid on like who is he? What is he? Right. So maybe he'll embrace it. Marcus Peters was a dick, and Marcus Peters has been all right with Baltimore, I would say. I mean, he's still kind of a douchebag sometimes, but it doesn't seem to be a problem in the locker room. And the few times there has been problems in the locker room, the team leaders say, "Yo, Harbaugh, get this Earl Thomas guy out of here. We don't want him."
Yeah.
So there seems to be a culture there that allows for is something to be upsetting in the locker room and is dealt with immediately. So yeah, I really don't know how to feel about it. There's really no take from me. I guess I'll just see how it impacts the rest of the season, right? So.
All right, so do you want to go over picks from last week real quick, just so the audience knows?
Yeah, cool. So I went 8-6 last week, and Pardue over here went 9-5. My total goes to 62-28-1 on the season, while Pardue is 61-29-1 on the season. So I'm currently one game ahead, and that could possibly change this week. He could get ahead of me this week. So at the time of recording this, it is an hour and 40 minutes until the Giants-Eagles game. So we'll make our pick for that, even though by the time you hear this, it won't matter. But just so you know, we will be picking that game before it technically happens. So yeah, do we want to get into the takeaways of the first 6 weeks of football?
Yeah, so I just wanted to hit some major talking points from this week, because it's been a pretty busy news week, I would say, for the NFL through the first 4 days of the week. But I think one of the biggest news stories that dropped at the beginning of the week was the switch that the Dolphins are making to go to Tua after their bye. And not only are they doing this, they're going to have his first career start, go off with Aaron Donald in his face. So we'll see how that goes for him. Now, here's something that I think about this is I don't know quite the adjective I want to put on it. I want to say it's a mistake, but I'm not sure I'm quite willing to go that far. So I'm just going to say I think it's highly unnecessary to be benching Ryan Fitzpatrick. And Ryan Fitzpatrick has come out over the last couple of days and say, wow, I mean, like, it's kind of heartbreaking. I thought this was my team, we're 500, we're playing well, and now I'm in a meeting room with a kid that just took my job and having to teach him. And he's like, and I have no doubt that Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to be there for Tua every step of the way. That's just the guy he is. He's a consummate professional. But that sucks, man. And like, and being from Arizona, Ryan Fitzpatrick's a local guy. I believe he's from Chandler.
Yeah, he's from Chandler. He's literally a mile and a half down from where I'm at right now.
Right.
He has played on the football field that I step onto every week.
Right. And I think Ryan Fitzpatrick's a great guy. He's not like, you're not going to call him an all-time great quarterback, but he's made a really great career out of what he's done in this league. Yeah, he's a journeyman.
He's made a great career out of a losing record. Like, he's done well for his brand. He
is a journeyman, folk hero, NFL player.
Yeah, the Amish
And
rifle.
there's something I'm going to say later in this podcast about this guy that might shock a lot of people, but we'll get to that later. I really like Ryan Fitzpatrick, and I think this is a mistake. And it's nothing against Tua. I think Tua is going to be all right, but I feel like the front office is pressuring Brian Flores, hey, you need to put Tua in. And at first when I saw this come down, I thought, okay, this was probably the plan the entire time to move Tua to the starter after the bye, no matter where the Dolphins were in terms of the standings. But with how Ryan Fitzpatrick is reacting, I don't think that's true. What are your thoughts? To me, this looks like a situation where I think the front office is pressuring Brian Flores because Herbert and Burrow are having really great starts to their career, and they're like, all right, you need to go get Tua in here because we're going to look foolish if we don't have him play this year. That's what I think this move is. What about you?
I'm going to use the exact word I told you yesterday. I thought it was an odd move. I didn't necessarily hate it, but I don't like it either.
Right.
It's just weird. And that's the only way I can describe it, is weird and odd. I can't say it's a bad move, but I can't say it's a good move either. And the reason I can't say it's a bad move, because I think a lot of people would lean towards bad, is you have to remember who Ryan Fitzpatrick is. He's a guy who will throw 5 touchdowns and 0 interception one game, and then the very next he'll throw 2 touchdowns and 4 interceptions in the next game. He's not a reliable starter. He's a great backup, but he's not a reliable starter. He has made a career off of, I think his record as of right now, I think is 33, 48, and 1, which is absolute trash. But those 33 games he's won have been phenomenal, right? And they're good enough to say, hey, there's a guy right there for when he's, winning, he's going to stomp whoever he's beating, right? But when he loses horrifically. And that's nothing on his character. I'm just talking about the football player. Because as a character, Ryan Fitzpatrick is a really fun personality that I love watching in interviews. But as a football player, he leaves a lot to be desired sometimes. And so I can't help but wonder if they're saying, all right, we're 3-3. We've seen some awful performances and we've seen some fantastic performances from Fitzpatrick. And I can't help but wonder, maybe they're thinking Tua is ready and Tua has more upside overall. The only thing I will say about this is, let's just say Tua comes in and he has like the Dak Prescott effect on the team, right? They win and they do well. Because when Dak Prescott went in, the Cowboys were great. I think the Dolphins have to keep in mind they're not winning any postseason games this year. I mean, they could win a wild card game, but they're not winning any meaningful postseason games this year. When's the last time a rookie actually did a ton in the playoffs? Like seriously, I can actually tell you because I'm biased. The last time was 2008. Joe Flacco went to the AFC Championship game. He was the first quarterback. Mm-hmm. He was the first rookie quarterback to ever do it. And Troy Polamalu intercepted him twice because he's a rookie who couldn't play up to the hype, right? And John Harbaugh was a rookie head coach too. But my point being is rookies usually falter in the playoffs not because the moment's too big, but because there are other players there who've been there, done that, and they understand the moment better than the rookie, right? Like nothing against Deshaun Watson or Trevor Lawrence when he comes in, or anybody who's ever been in big games like Tua, but your college football championship doesn't matter in a playoff game. You've played under the lights and you've won a national championship. Congratulations. Welcome to the big boys where these men are 30 years old, 30 more pounds than the guys you were playing against, hit harder than the guys you were playing against, and have better abilities to motivate their bodies over an 18-game season. It's like an 18-game season at that point in the playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's the product of the NFL. When I see a rookie quarterback do it, I'll believe it, right? But I think the Dolphins need to keep in mind that if they want to win this year, I'm not saying the Super Bowl, just win after a 3-3 record, and they think a more consistent upside with Tua is necessary, they need to keep in mind that they're getting thrashed in the divisional round, if not the wild card round, simply because Tua is a rookie.
Right. And I mean, even if they do, obviously they're making the switch. Even if he is successful, I don't quite see the Dolphins making the playoffs. In addition to that, we've seen for the most part when rookie quarterbacks come in their first couple games, they're usually really, really successful, and then teams get some film on them, and then they regress a little bit. We saw it with Kyler Murray last year. The beginning of his career, the first few games, they were pretty damn good. And then he regressed a bit. He started throwing more picks because team got more film, and then he adjusted. And that's probably how it's going to go for Tua. And, I mean, that's kind of how it's going for Burrow and Herbert as well. Like, we've seen them have some rough games. We've seen them have some good games because they got film. That's just how it is. It's the National Football League. That's my thoughts on it. You got any more to say on Tua?
Not necessarily anything from me. What else do we got?
All right, and then the next thing I want to talk about, we hit it briefly. There's not much more I want to say about it, but with it being basically the number one story of the day is the Yannick Ngakoue trade. So the only thing I really want to say about it is I think coming up at the trade deadline, a lot how in the MLB, when it's the trade deadline in Major League Baseball, a lot of teams are looking for bullpen help, and that's basically the hot commodity and the hot position that everybody's trading for. This year it's going to be pass rushers because we've seen a lot of pass rushers get hurt so far this season. Rest in peace, Chandler Jones, Von Miller. And that's just something these defenses and teams need because we're not really seeing a lot of great pass rushers so far this season. We're not seeing guys blow up numbers with sacks and pressures and so on and so forth. That being said, I thought the Vikings, this was really weird for them. They traded a second-round pick for Ngakoue and then had him for 6 games and then trade him away for a third and a conditional fifth. That just doesn't make sense. That's a net loss. Like, that's just bad management at that point. Is what concerns me for the Ravens is if they're really willing to part with him after 6 games and I mean, at this point, maybe even tank. Because, I mean, that's what this move tells me. You just traded away a second-round pick for this guy and then are going to 6 games later trade him away again for a third? Number one, that's not good management. Number two, that's a sign of a team that's given up.
Can I tell you what it actually is?
Go ahead.
On a bigger level. Okay, so on a bigger level, what this actually is they traded for him, right? I don't think they planned on paying him. I think this was a Super Bowl or bust move. Well, they're not winning the Super Bowl anymore. So here's what happens. If you keep him around you don't get anything for him at the end of the year because he's going to be a free
Right.
agent, right? And clearly their plans were not to pay him at this point, so trade him now to get something out of him.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what this really came down to.
You're probably right, but even with that being said, to me, that's just poor management, and it's not a good look for an already pretty ugly season for the Vikings.
Not that
for the Ravens, though.
Hold on, not that I'm trying to defend the Vikings, but is it poor management, or is it just the Super Bowl or bust move ended up being a bust, and you're trying to move on before it looks worse?
You're not wrong, but if that's the case, if you really, and maybe they had the right to have this much faith in the team because they won a playoff game last year.
Yeah, they went to the
divisional
divisional
decent.
round.
They were a pretty decent team last year, but if you're going to go make a big move like that and give up a high round pick, I feel like you shouldn't be giving up on him 6 weeks in, even if it was a boomer bust pick. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
I think the ultimate feeling was we're going to trade for this guy because he's going to be on the last part of his rookie year deal. He took a pay cut, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're not sure if we're going to pay him, but this strengthens our Super Bowl roster. Well, now you're 1-5. You're not making the Super Bowl. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I truly think this is oh shit, we're not making the Super Bowl. We need to get something back for this guy before we get nothing for him.
Right.
Because how much more terrible would this look in March if Ngakoue signed with someone else?
Mm-hmm.
How much more bad would it say you traded a 3rd round pick for a 3-13 season? Nice.
Mm-hmm.
How much worse would that look? In my opinion, this is a save face move.
And you may be right.
That's how I really feel about it.
Right. In the end, you may and probably are right. To me, it's just that's a big loss for the Vikings overall. Anyway, that's what I got on it. Or for the Ravens, I think it's a pretty good move. They're going to shore up that pass rush a little bit more and help out an already really, really good defense, the number 1 scoring defense in the league. Putting him across from Judon, it's just going to open up that pass rush for other guys even more.
And Ngakoue.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Judon's like the biggest of names. People kind of know his name these days. But like Judon, Ngakoue, and Calais Campbell, and Derek
That's going to be
Wolfe.
really nice. It's going to be really nice.
I'm actually about to cry right now.
That's going to be really nice.
What a monstrous
D-line.
a lot. What a D-line.
All right. Do you have anything else on the big trade of the day?
No, I don't, because like I said, outside of that, like, I don't know what it means for the long term. Baltimore's had a lot of problems since Terrell Suggs left, trying to find pass rush help. The one guy I wish they would have saw, like, I remember when we let him go, I'm like, this is a mistake. This is the guy we need, which was Zadarius Smith, and he's fantastic for the Packers. I miss Zadarius Smith so much. Every time I watch Zadarius Smith pop off for Green Bay, I'm like, that could still be us. But nope, we let him go. So, I guess it is what it is.
All right. And then the next thing I wanted to talk about was Mike McCarthy. Now, I've talked about Mike McCarthy on this podcast before. If you're a listener, consistent listener, you know I don't like him. I've watched Steve Wilkes outcoach him. I've never really been a big fan of Mike McCarthy, and I think a few years back when Aaron Rodgers, not that he's not in his prime anymore, but back when they were like a consistent, not that they weren't a consistent contender, but like back in the prime age of Mike McCarthy, let's say that, when they won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, 2008 to 2014.
Right.
They had a top 5 offense literally every year.
Mm-hmm. That offense and that message or whatever that he had at that time it worked. But it's been apparent over the last couple of years that he coached in the NFL that no players are currently buying into that message. There's been rumors coming out this week that the Cowboys have that Mike McCarthy has already lost the Cowboys locker room. And Mike McCarthy had to come out this week and he's like, oh, well, if players are saying that, they need to come and talk to me about it. That's how a team's supposed to be. I'm like, well, then they obviously don't like you, dude. They don't like your message. They don't care for it. They don't want to listen to you. He lost the locker room. This is, and it's unfortunate. And I think part of it is I don't think this story would have broken out or really happened, at least not yet, if Dak Prescott didn't get hurt and the Cardinals didn't beat the brakes off of them in front of a national TV audience. But I think coupled with the Dak Prescott injury and the ass beating that they got on Monday, I think the Cowboys season's over. I still kind of had them pegged to be the division winner in the NFC East, the awful, awful NFC East. But honestly, I don't see it anymore whatsoever. I think Mike McCarthy's completely lost his team. I don't think he's a good coach. I haven't thought so in quite a while. And that's all I got to say on that. What are your thoughts?
I'll be honest. If I had $500 just to throw around, I would say $500 to the person on October 22nd at 4:01 p.m. who can guess the division winner correctly and say it with a straight face. That's what I would say about the NFC East right now. I'd give you $500 if you're right at the end of Week 17.
It's tough.
However, I don't have that money. Yeah, like when I seriously look at every single team, I can make an argument for every team making it as the divisional winner.
Right.
I think the least likely is probably Washington at this point. They're probably the least likely, but they're still very much in it.
Right, and it's not like all the teams in that division are garbage anyway, so it's not like it's out of like the equation that they couldn't get in. Now they're not gonna.
Yeah, the ones with the most potential, I feel like, is Philadelphia, but like they rarely hit that potential.
And they look so bad, man. And like to me, it's between the Giants and the Eagles, and I think the Eagles are just going to get it by default because I think overall I'm not going to say they have the most talented roster because they don't, because the Cowboys do, but the Cowboys are just bad and they have terrible coaching. But to me, I think the Eagles get it? Question mark.
Well, I guess that's the team I feel
the most confident in.
We'll find out tonight.
Right, but then when the team that I think has the second best chance, the Giants, is just fuck. They're so bad. And Daniel Jones is Daniel. Fuck this Danny Dimes thing. I don't want to hear somebody say that ever again. It's Danny Dismal, dude. It's Danny fucking Dismal.
Yeah,
he's not good.
Daniel Jones is not very good. Sad to say. Maybe he has one of those things where like his first 2 years suck and his third year is good, but like this sophomore year is awful. It's really bad.
And you know what? There's a lot of people who defend Daniel Jones
because he makes some really good throws. Because he does.
He does. I'll give him credit. No, you heard me this season. In his week 1 game, I was like, damn, Daniel Jones kind of looks good. And then he didn't throw a single touchdown pass until this weekend. And he's turned the ball over 9 times in 5 games, dude. He's not good. His number one problem last year was turning the football over, and he hasn't fixed it.
And it's still his number one problem,
And it's still his number one problem.
So.
And now he's not throwing the touchdown passes he was last year. And people want to say, oh, well, it's his offensive line. No Saquon Barkley. He has no receivers. Well, nobody said that for Josh Rosen. And I'm not trying to be a homer, because you know I suck the shit out of Josh Rosen's dick. But Josh Rosen is not good, I'll admit, but he looked just as good as Daniel Jones, and he didn't get the credit, and now he's on a practice squad.
Which is to say, bad. He looked just as good as Josh Rosen, which is to say, bad.
He's bad. So, to me, it's the Eagles winning this division, but I don't know if you really have anything to say on Mike McCarthy, because that was what this whole conversation started from. I think that division's bad. Mike McCarthy's bad.
So I'm not a huge Bucky Brooks fan. I don't know if you know who he is or not.
I do.
What? Okay, cool. To me, Bucky, I like his analysis, but I don't like his Twitter. And I do follow him on Twitter, but I follow him on Twitter because he has some rare takes where I'm like, oh, I didn't think about the game that way. Because he's a player. He used to be a player, and now he's an analyst. But he was a guy who was undrafted and worked his way through things, so he knows the ins and outs of things. And he used to be a scout for the Jaguars, and he scouted. He used to be a scout for the Panthers, and he's the one who scouted out Steve Smith. So I know he's got an eye for talent. He said something that really intrigued me on Monday night, and he talked about how for the Cowboys defense, he said it looks like no one knows what they're doing on the defense because there's so many slip-ups that just don't happen in football teams. And he talked about, and it was like a long, like, 3-tweet rant, like a 3-tweet thread. He talked about how college defenses make those mistakes because the players don't know where they're supposed to be at, and college defensive coaches aren't always good at telling players where to be. Like, they might have a really good mind for it, but they're not good at, like, actually teaching that, right? But they're just good enough to be at the college level. And he said that's happening right now with the Cowboys, and he said it looks really silly. And actually, that Christian Kirk play is a very obvious example. Like, Christian Kirk...
There was nobody close.
Yeah, there was nobody close to him. The safety was all the way on the opposite side of the field. The backup for the corner that got blown out by Christian Kirk was not there because he was on the opposite side of the field. That's crazy. That's just bad schemes, bad teaching, bad coaching. Right? And I'm not trying to discredit Kyler Murray's gorgeous throw and Christian Kirk's incredible catch because it was a little bit of an overthrow. It was an amazing catch.
I don't know how he caught that thing. Yeah. He caught the tip of the football.
Yeah, it was a little bit of an overthrow, but he got it. He got it, right?
Yeah.
So, but ultimately it was a blown coverage, right? And that's not me
100%.
trying.
It was 100% a mental error. No, you're not wrong.
Yeah, I'm not trying to discredit like the effort made by Christian Kirk and Murray, but it was ultimately a blown coverage. There was nothing special about it other than it was a blown coverage.
Right.
And when Bucky said that, and he's like, it looks like they don't know what they're doing because they haven't been taught how to do the scheme. And then 2 days later, players are complaining about that the coaches aren't teaching them. I'm like, wow. This guy, Bucky Brooks,
then he must be spot on.
He literally said, this looks like what's happening. And then 2 days later, players are saying this. I'm like, wow, he literally called it just from watching a Monday Night Football game. He could see that's what was going on. So, I mean, you can talk about Mike McCarthy all you want because I haven't been impressed with him this year either. But I'm always going to beat the head that Mike Nolan needs to be gone. These schemes are I don't even know at this point if it's schemes. Because before I was blaming schemes. But now it just might be that they can't execute the defense either because the schemes are too complicated or they're not being taught it and they're expecting to self-learn. They're expecting the players to self-learn it. If that's how Mike Nolan's operating, well, A, no wonder he was fired from the Falcons when he was the coach. But B, why are you still the defensive coordinator now? This actually brings me to a comment I wanted to make. I don't actually listen to Colin Cowherd anymore. I used to really like Cowherd. But
he's awful.
He's gotten really crazy with his takes lately. But last night when I was letting just some things play. I was listening to Strong Opinion Sports, and I was just letting YouTube play through things. A Colin Cowherd segment came up about Jerry Jones. And I didn't like the metaphor he made, but the message was still the same. And he talked about how he thinks Jerry Jones is a bad owner because Jerry Jones is too loyal. Overpaid for Zeke, overpaid for Jalen Smith, who is an expensive player. He's good, but he's not elite. He doesn't, he's not playing at the elite level that his money demands him to. And I thought to myself, is that why Jason Garrett stuck around for so long? Because Jerry Jones is too loyal? Is that why Mike Nolan is still around? Because Jerry Jones is too loyal? So despite the fact that I didn't like the metaphor that Cowherd had, his essential message was, I think Jerry Jones is too loyal and he's bringing down this team because he's too loyal to players and coaches. I can't say I disagree. I don't know why Mike Nolan hasn't been fired. I don't get it. We're 6 weeks in and this is the worst defense in the league. By far. By far. And if players are complaining about, them not knowing schemes, and there's an analyst out there who says, yeah, it looks like they have no idea what they're doing because it doesn't look like their coaches taught them. Sounds like you need to get rid of the guy who's, quote-unquote, leading your defense. And get a guy in there who maybe knows what he's doing. I feel like anything is better at this point than Mike Nolan. As for McCarthy, unfortunately for McCarthy, defensive football is not his forte, so he can't fix that either. As for offense, I'm sorry that his quarterback's Andy Dalton, and I'm sorry that I thought Andy Dalton was a good signing because that looked bad. Really bad. Now, part of it was Budda Baker just, balling out, but that was bad. Yeah. I don't think this Cowboys offense going into what I wanted to say, I'm just going to segue this. I think Dak Prescott earned his contract simply by not playing. Yes, the Cowboys lost in spectacular fashion. The Cardinals crushed them defensively and offensively through all three phases of football, right? Cliff Kingsbury very much outcoached Mike McCarthy offensively, and Vance Joseph put up a phenomenal job in knowing that he should blitz Andy Dalton. All credit to them. All credit to them, right? But I don't think that blitzing strategy works if Dak Prescott's the quarterback. A, I'm not saying they win the game, by the way. I don't think that blitzing strategy works as well with Dak Prescott. A, but B, at least Dak Prescott made them competitive in the games, right?
Mm-hmm.
This team doesn't look competitive without him in two games, right? In the last half of the Giants game, I think they just kind of beat the Giants because they're the Giants, right? And then this most recent game, they play a solid squad. I wouldn't even consider the Cardinals elite. They're a solid squad who's going to make the playoffs, I feel. And you're pummeled. You don't even look remotely. Your offense looks nothing.
It didn't even look like they showed up,
yeah,
which is all on coaching. Well, not all on coaching, because I think it's the job of the players to get yourself ready to play a game, but I think part of why they aren't preparing themselves is because they just don't believe in this coaching.
Well, I also think there's a lack of leadership, too. Like, once Dak Prescott's out of there, who's going to lead it? Not Elliott.
Yeah, I was about to say, not Zeke, dude.
Yeah, not. And if it's one of the linemen, but linemen aren't stars.
They're not going to inspire you, It's not like they're doing things on the field that are going to inspire a team.
Yeah. So, I think Dallas really misses its leadership in Dak, and I think he earned his contract just by not playing. If anything, I've always argued that, and this is why I argued Russell Wilson should be the MVP of the Seahawks last year, but it was Lamar because he played and he had the narrative. If there's any question as to who the most valuable player is for a team this year, I'm not sure I can find anyone who's more valuable to Dallas than Dak Prescott, and I'm not sure if that value is higher across any other team this year so far through 6 weeks. I think Budda Baker is super important to the Cardinals. Change the defense, right?
He's the heart and soul of the team.
Definitely. I think Nick Bosa is the MVP for the 49ers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would almost argue that Von Miller's the MVP for the Broncos. But neither of those three teams, while they will miss the impact of Budda Baker, Nick Bosa, and Von Miller, I think those teams can win without those three players. It'll be tough.
I don't think the Cardinals can't win without. We saw the one game without Budda Baker and how bad that was. I think the offense could keep the Cardinals in it, but Budda Baker is extremely important to this team. Against the Panthers, no, we didn't. We got smoked.
Wait, he didn't play against the Jets, did he?
No, he played against the Jets. That was his first game back. He didn't play against the Panthers, and that's the game we got our fucking shit knocked in.
But I don't think the Cowboys are even going to be remotely competitive without.
No, I agree.
So, anyway, that was my only takeaway is Dak Prescott earned his contract by just not playing. I think you saw what this team is going to look like the rest of the year. Now, will the Cowboys win a couple games? Probably at some point. But or maybe not. Maybe not. Their defense is so bad, with or without Prescott. It really just depends on if their offense can move.
Yeah.
So, okay, to be fair, I don't believe in curses, but it was a Monday night game, and Andy Dalton was playing Monday night, and he's like 0-7 now, starting Monday night games. So, take that for what you will. I mean, I'm kind of rolling my eyes as I say that because I hate stats like that. But Andy Dalton can't win on Monday night, so maybe it's that. Maybe give it one more week before I bury the Cowboys. Let me see their offense for one more week. But if it's just as dastardly as it was Monday night, forget it. Tonight's game probably decides the division winner if that's the case.
With that being said, two more things I want to talk about, and we'll hit them real quick. I just wanted to talk about Mr. Antonio Brown. We haven't heard that name in a while. Now, here's my thought, because for those who haven't heard, I'm sure the majority of people have heard that Antonio Brown is going to be reinstated from his suspension come week 8. And according to Adam Schefter, there are multiple teams who are in on the Antonio Brown sweepstakes. And now the only one that has come out and really said anything about it and been confirmed is the Seattle Seahawks. To me, personally, I don't think that's the greatest fit, and it's not because I think he's a locker room nightmare, because I feel like a guy like Russell Wilson could, keep that in check. But I just feel like they have so many weapons already, so what's the point of going out and getting a guy like that who, yeah, maybe he might be really, really good, but also he might not, and you'll be just fine if he's not. I just don't think the move's necessary.
I don't know, man. Think about this, okay? Just picture it, okay? In that moment, let's just say on Sunday Night Football, okay, let's just say he signed today and he plays on Sunday Night Football because he would be able to.
Except he can't because he's not reinstated. No, he couldn't. He's not reinstated.
Oh, that's right, because of the suspension. All right. So theoretically, let's just say his suspension is over and he played the Sunday night, right? DK Metcalf is still your number 1 right now, just because of where he's at. And Antonio Brown hasn't played football in a while. But Antonio Brown is essentially your number 2, and Lockett's your number 3. Tyler Lockett is your. Let me say that again. Tyler Lockett would be your number 3. That's not even a knock on Tyler Lockett.
Right, but you still have David Moore too. David Moore is another decent receiver. Like, to me, like don't get me wrong. Like, it would be right. It would be great for Seattle if they did that. But do they really? They don't really need to. And I mean, hey, if you want to, more power to you. But to me, I don't really see it. Now, one team, and I don't know how you're going to feel about it.
Fuck you. No.
But no, dude, I totally see the Ravens being 100% all in, because number one, you need receiver help. And his cousin plays for them.
I know.
And he's a perfect fit for that offense.
And Lamar worked out with Antonio Brown also. I know. All the dots are there, but he's
a perfect fit for that offense, dude.
And he gets to play the Steelers, and he'd love that too. He'd love playing against his former team. Like, I get it. I know where the logic comes from. It all makes sense. Until you look at how Earl Thomas was redacted, right?
And now that's totally okay. That's why I'm saying it's okay, because your team can handle it. Your team has shown that they can handle toxic personalities and get them the fuck out. So I don't see a problem with it. Go get Hollywood's cousin, let them play together.
And if it works out, it works out. And if it
works out, that's holy shit. Exactly. And give Lamar Jackson the best weapon he's ever had. Because the second he steps on that team, no matter even if he takes a couple steps back to the all-pro level he was the last full year he played, he's still the best weapon that Lamar Jackson will ever be given so far in his career.
I know you disagreed with it, but I think when Antonio Brown was playing in his prime, he was the best receiver in the league, hands down. I didn't think anyone was playing better than him. So even if he took his few steps back from that, I mean, you're right. It would be the best. I know where it's going, but it just makes me watching him.
To me, that's what makes the most sense.
Watching him from his meltdown with Pittsburgh to him just not wanting to play for the Raiders, to the weird stint with the Patriots, and then I don't know. It's just so weird. Like, if I knew guaranteed that all that stuff was in the past and it's never going to come up again, then I'm all for it.
Okay, so then let me say this. When was the last time we saw Antonio Brown negatively in the news? When was the last time we saw a video of cops in front of his house and he's cussing out his baby mama? Don't get me wrong. I don't like AB and the person he is. But it seems like – because we don't know. But it seems as if he's turned a corner. And I don't think he comes in and makes a visit with the Ravens and then signs a contract if the Ravens don't feel comfortable that he's put that shit behind him. You know what I'm saying?
They're not the type of organization to take a gamble. They want to know for sure if they're going to get something that they want or not. Not saying that Baltimore as an organization hasn't missed before, but typically good organizations like Baltimore, New England, even Pittsburgh, they usually do their homework before and do it well before they make signings like that. Like, for example, remember when Randy Moss went to the Patriots?
Mm-hmm.
You remember how controversial that was? People were like, "Oh, that's not going to work." Randy Moss, Bill Belichick, never. And yet
Right.
Brady and Moss broke so many records, and they went 17-0 that year. And yeah, it can work under the right coaching. I agree, and I do believe Harbaugh is there, but there's still a piece of me that's like, I hope you know where I'm coming from.
No, because I totally get where you're coming from. Because I've seen, let me put it this way: I've seen Cardinal fans on my Twitter say, "Oh, we better go get Antonio Brown. Imagine Fitzgerald, Kirk, Andy Isabella, DeAndre Hopkins, and Antonio Brown all together. Oh my God, we'll have the best receiver core ever." And the very tiny little itty bitty part of my brain's like, "Holy shit, that'd be insane."
It would be,
but I'm like, nah.
Don't trust Kingsbury enough for it.
It's not that I don't trust Kingsbury enough for it. It's I'm as nervous as you are for the same reason. Because like I'd be down. I think Fitz and Hop could keep him in check, but just the back of my mind, nah, no thanks. But and also like I just don't think it's a massive need for the Cardinals. It's a massive need for the Ravens. And that's all I got to say about that.
Alrighty. Well, I mean, I don't know. Count me as. I mean, I've said how I feel, but I don't have an actual like analytical opinion. I mean, from an analyst perspective, it's one of the number one rushing offenses, or one of the top rushing offenses. I should say they're not number one this year. One of the top rushing offenses. And you give them a speedster and Marquise Brown, a slot receiver like Antonio Brown, and then you have Mark Andrews out there as a big body. Like, it sounds super enticing. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, and I don't know. Maybe he'd grow up because his cousin's on the team. I don't know, or maybe he'd just be like, I like Lamar a lot, or what. I don't know. I don't know Antonio Brown as a person. I don't know how he functions. I can only comment on what I've seen on the outside. And we don't know these players for real, right? Sometimes you can read a person and how good of a heart they have. Like Larry Fitzgerald, you already know he's an amazing person because of everything he's done over the years. But I can't comment on someone like Antonio Brown, right? I can't speak for him. So I guess I should just shut my mouth, I guess.
All right. Is that all you got on it?
Yep.
All right. And then the very last thing I just wanted to hit, we're going to get into the matchup a little bit later, but the big news that dropped, maybe not big news, but the Sunday Night Football flex. Instead of the Raiders and Buccaneers, which probably would have pretty decent matchup, we are now getting the Cardinals and Seahawks. And now the biggest factor in this is the COVID situation, because the Raiders had a couple, I believe, offensive linemen test positive, and they sent them all home today just due to contact tracing. Yeah. So they sent them all home today, and the NFL got ahead of it, and I commend them for doing this, is they immediately decided, okay, we should probably flex this just in case we can't get a Sunday night. If the Raiders and Patriots the Buccaneers can't play on Monday, on Sunday, that means we have no Sunday night football game. We have to have a Sunday night football game. Hey, Phoenix is 5 hours away. Let's flex the Cardinals and the Seahawks. So I feel like that's obviously the number one factor into why it got flexed, but I don't think that this specific game would have been flexed if the Cardinals didn't have their coming out party like they did on Monday night. That's all I really got on this. I think it's pretty cool. I'm really, really excited because it's funny. The last time the Cardinals were on Sunday Night Football was in 2016, so about 4 years ago.
Wait, I know where
do you
this
remember
is
that
going.
game?
I know where this is going.
Do you remember that game, Sanders?
I do. I remember exactly what happened.
So, and not even that game, all Seattle and Cardinals games have the tendency to get weird. There's always some weird shit happening in Seattle and Cardinal games. Always some weird things happen. And it makes the game really, really interesting and fun to watch. So I think that's why I got flexed.
Something I want to say, okay? So Pardue got really loud. So he went over on the decibel mark, and when you go over on the decibel mark, you get cut out. He screamed that it was a fucking tie, 6-6. He argues it is the most miserable game he's ever watched. If you ask me, it's the funniest game I've ever watched because I was texting him during it. And I remember very clearly I was in my apartment in Flagstaff, and I remember you saying, "Dude, I'd rather we have just lost."
Honestly, I would have. We smoked them in every major statistical category in that game besides fucking points. So frustrating. That was one of the most frustrating games I had ever watched, dude.
What? I think both Cat and Zero and Hauschka missed like 5 kicks combined that night.
Like something like that, and both of them missed like 25-yarders to end the fucking game.
I just can't believe Hauschka missed it with like 2 seconds left. Wasn't it like only like a 38-yarder? Like it was kind of a chip shot.
It was a really short kick. Yeah, both Cat and Zero and Hauschka missed chip shots,
and he missed it. And I remember not Chris Collinsworth. Who's the other guy? Al Michaels. I remember him.
Yes.
I remember him saying the kick, and he's like, "And it's no good. Are you kidding me?" Mm-hmm. And then Chris Collinsworth was like, "This game's gonna end in a tie." I can't believe it. I was laughing so hard. I felt bad for my friends who were Cardinals fans, but I was just laughing. I was having a great time. I'm like, this shit show's ending in a tie. There's no better way as an outsider that it could have gone.
If I were a fan of any other team that wasn't the Seahawks or Cardinals, that probably would have been one of the funniest and best games I've ever watched.
It was literally one of the most hilarious.
I can't enjoy it. No, fuck you. I can't enjoy it. So that shit sucked.
Let me tell you, dude. As an outsider, it was fantastic. So anyway, yeah, it'll be fun to have them on Sunday Night Football. I think that's hype. I think that's cool, and it's going to be in Arizona. So we got Sunday Night Football in Arizona. Mm-hmm. As an Arizonan, I can always be happy about primetime games being here because they rarely happen. So I remember when the Super Bowl came here, that was such a fun time. Or when the College Football Championship came here like 3 years ago, that was a lot of fun too. That was a great time actually when they had like all the free concerts and free food in downtown Phoenix. I don't know if you ever did any of that stuff, but I did. I went to it, and they had like players who were, like receivers and quarter. I don't even remember their names. Who knows? Maybe I'd met a future NFL player there. I don't know. It was Clemson in Alabama. I probably did.
Yeah, you definitely did.
I didn't know it. Maybe I met Marlon Humphrey and I had no idea. But like, I was just talking to players, and I'd be like, I was really stupid. I was like, hey, so like, how's your college experience? Like, obviously you play football, but like, how is like going to classes? Like, how does that work? I wanted to know what the student life was like of a college football player because I really didn't know. So no, it was cool. I liked it. I like it when we have prime time here. So I'm happy for that. Do you want to get into our? I don't even know. Just our
first check down Hail Mary, real quick.
First check down Hail Mary. That's a great way to say it. Check down first down Hail Mary. Yeah,
whatever the fuck, I don't know.
Yeah. No, we had to think of something to call it, like the actual segment itself, not just check down first down Hail Mary.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I went first last time. You want to go first on the check down this time?
Yeah, I'll go first. Sure. First thing I wanted to say, and it's going against every fiber of my being to say this, and it's my check down. Maybe ? The Bears are good. Question mark? Because our listeners have heard I've been talking shit about the Bears all year so far, and I don't quite remember. I was supposed to look it up and I forgot, but I don't quite remember what their point differential is. But I know it's really, really close, and all of their games have basically been one possession games and some really fluky wins. And typically, that typically means there's going to be some regression going forward. But I think at this point, at being 5-1, it's going to be really difficult for them to not make the playoffs.
Their point differential,
you know what I'm saying?
Is 12.
12?
Over
5-1.
Games. Over 6 games.
Exactly.
12. It's 12. That's an average of only winning by 2 points per game. Now, that's not what's happened, but that's what the average comes out to.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, where did they lose? They had to have gotten blown out in one of their games for the point differential to be that small.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot who they lost to. I don't even remember.
I don't remember either.
I just remember being
in the grand scheme, though.
I just remember being angry when. Okay, here we go. Okay, so they beat the Lions by 4. They beat the Giants by 4. They beat the Falcons by 4. They lost to the Colts by 8. Beat the Buccaneers by 1. And then beat the Bears by 9.
The Bears beat the Bears by 9? You mean the Panthers?
Oh, sorry, Bears beat the Panthers by 9. So, see, hold on. That's 4, 8, 12. Okay, so that's 12 for them. And then minus 8 is 4. Then plus 1 is 5. Then plus 9 is... Oh, plus 7 is 12. Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, well. Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's how it's going. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think, obviously at this point, you're 5-1. You're not bad.
Tell that to the 5-0 Falcons who finished 7-9.
Okay, fair. And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Their point differential and the way they're winning games is not sustainable. And typically, if history shows, it means regression is coming.
You want to know why I think what they're doing is sustainable, actually? So
hold on 1 second. 1 second.
Okay.
So just for me, the reason why I don't think it's sustainable is they don't have good quarterback play. They overall just don't have a good offense. But their defense is really, really good. But you can't count on players like DeAndre Swift in his week 1 dropping a wide open touchdown to give you the win. Like, you can't count on that shit. I personally just don't think it's sustainable. At this point, they're 5-1. They're going to win more games. They're probably going to win 9-10 games at this rate. And that's going to be enough to get them in the playoffs for sure. But I don't think they're a powerhouse. I don't think they're a great team. And that's just my take. Are they a good team? Yes. At this point, you have to give it to them. They're 5-1. But they definitely don't scare me, and they're not going to be contenders for a Super Bowl.
So I know you were like at a pumpkin patch and you were more focused on like the Browns Steelers. But I watched more of the Panthers Bears after I got really bored of watching the Steelers just pound the Cleveland Browns. And I couldn't help but notice just how their defense just flies everywhere. Their defense is swarming. They move to the ball, which sounds so no duh, but they literally move to the ball faster than any defense. They have such an instinct for where the ball is at, and that's why this defense is so good. This is a Super Bowl caliber, defense. We've been saying that for years, but they're really showing it this year. This could carry a bad offense, I think, at this point. I mean, we haven't seen a really good defense. Yeah, we have. We saw it 5 years ago. Actually, it was the Broncos. I'm not saying they're at that level yet, but they could trend in that direction. This Bears defense is way too good to underestimate. At this point, I'm not calling them like Super Bowl contenders, but they're certainly a team that I don't think you want to play against because they're not going to be easy to beat. And if you do beat them, you better be ready to man up because you got to pound their defense, and that's not fun. Playing against teams where you have to beat their defense, not outscore them, but beat their defense, that's not fun. That's never a fun game. It's always dirty. It's always gritty, and that's the kind of environment this Bears team wants to be in, right? Like that 2019 game that I was so pissed at, that's the environment this team wants to be in. They want to have those close games because they will close it out. Because this defense can close it out.
See, for me, I'm not ready to go that far. Let me see some more, and then I'll believe that. I'll give it credit to their defense, but to me, you still need to have an inspiring offense as well to couple that if you want to be a contender. And I don't view that offense as inspiring whatsoever. And that's just my take.
It's happened twice in the last 20 years. A defense has won a Super Bowl for a bad offense twice in the last 20 years. Now, that's not good numbers, but that's 1 out of 10, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can name them.
Anyway.
It was the 2000 Ravens-Giants year where That Ravens defense didn't allow. I think they allowed 1 touchdown the entire postseason, if I remember correctly, or maybe it was 2. And then obviously the Peyton Manning Broncos year, where Manning was god awful, and that Broncos defense just killed everyone. So maybe the Bears get to that level. I don't think they're at that level yet, but it's trending in that direction at the moment.
All right, and then that's my check down. So if you're ready to do yours,
cool. My check down. I think there needs to be some less hate for both the Packers and the Buccaneers. First of all, there were some wild takes I saw after that Sunday game that were like, "This is why the Packers drafted Jordan Love," and I was like, "Excuse me?" I was like, "Is a quarterback not allowed to have a bad game?" I was like, in my head, I was like, Lamar was a unanimous MVP, and he had 3 awful games last year. His game against the 49ers, even though they won it, was not very good. His game against the Browns was awful in Week 4. And his game against the Chiefs, I mean, statistically it was good, but on film was not good. Okay? Aaron Rodgers is allowed to have a bad game. Okay? I understand he almost threw 2 pick sixes in a row, and that doesn't look good, especially because he's only ever thrown 2 pick sixes in his life before that, and he was about to double his total in 2 passes. I get that. But freak accidents happen, bad games happen, and sometimes a team's defensive game plan beats a team's offensive game plan. It's very apparent that the Buccaneers' Todd Bowles defense was very much prepared for what Matt LaFleur was going to throw at them. They had every answer. This secondary improved down the stretch of last year, and I wasn't ready to believe that this secondary was going to continue that improvement, but they have. The front 7 for the Bucs was already good. We knew that. But their secondary has continued its improvement. This secondary shut down Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. I think the hate train for the Bucs needs to slow. Yes, they lost the Bears. I was mad about it too. I was like, man, what a fake team. But I needed to realize that I needed to slow down. I think everyone else does too. Now let's go to the Packers. Listen, they're 4-1. I'm still going to take the Packers against the Buccaneers again in the playoffs. Probably. And I'm still going to take the Packers to beat Seattle as of right now. I still take them as the best NFC team, the best team in the NFC. Not a lot of people will agree with that. But we need to slow our roll when things like this happen because blowouts will happen to good teams. Mm-hmm. And it's not like the Packers were blown out by a bad team. They were blown out by a good team. So I just had to say, like, there needs to be a slow for the hatred of good teams when they lose. Like, just chill out. It's 1 week. Worry about it when it's week 16, week 17. Then you can worry about it. Okay? And even then, I could argue you shouldn't worry about it because I think Baltimore, when they went on their last Super Bowl run, they lost 3 of their last 4 games. Everybody's like, wow, they're slumping at the wrong time. They suck. And then they won the Super Bowl. They won on the road as a wild card, on the road as a division, on the road in the NFC Championship, or AFC Championship, and then the Super Bowl, right? Mm. So I'm just saying, don't freak out about a team. A good team, I should say. Don't freak out about a good team losing until it's more consistent and apparent later. The Packers are allowed to have a bad game, and I should have calmed down when I was calling the Buccaneers mediocre because they're allowed to have a bad game too. And they came out and they swung at the Packers with the best they got, and they beat them 38-10. I think that was the final score, 38-10, right? Pretty sure that's what it was. So that's my check down is we all need to calm down. We're 6 weeks in. We're not even halfway through the season.
All right, fair enough. I'm going to make you angry.
Sure.
So my first down, I'm going to double down on a take that I had earlier this year.
Sure.
That the Cardinals will finish as a top 3 rushing offense at the end of the season. And now before you give me your, nope, not going to happen, let's give some context to that, because I'm sure some of our listeners are like scoffing at me again too. Because keep in mind, I had this take in this segment, but I had it as a Hail Mary. I've now brought it down to a first down.
Seriously, everyone should agree with you?
I'm not. I'm saying most should. Let me give some context. As of right now, they are the number 3 rushing football team in the National Football League. They have one of, and nobody's going to give them credit for it, and nobody is going to be watching the games. But the Cardinals, as of right now, believe it or not, are one of the best offensive line units in the National Football League right now. Their left tackle, DJ Humphries, is one of the highest graded left tackles in football right now, and was the highest graded offensive player. And I know it was against the Jets, but was the highest graded offensive player of that week, just a couple weeks ago. This offensive line is playing extremely well. They are staying. Actually, they're not. They're not staying healthy because J.R. Sweezy, their starting right guard, went to IR. And now their backups, Justin Murray, and guys like Lamont Gilliard, because Mason Cole missed a few games too, are playing better than the original starters. So you couple that with Kenyon Drake seemingly finding himself this last 2 weeks, and his mom getting on a foot. That's what Kenyon Drake said yesterday. He's like, I had a conversation. He said, I had a conversation with my mom. She said, are you going to start running north-south and hitting some holes today or what? And then he went off for 164 yards.
It kind of hurts when your mama says, hey, you suck.
Right. So you couple that with great offensive line play, Kenyon Drake being the number 4 leading rusher in the National Football League. Some people aren't going to believe that, all the fantasy haters. And don't get me wrong, I was hating on Kenyon Drake too. But now you're the number 4, and I know a big part of it was just this last game. But he's been consistent throughout this year. He's been all right. And he's averaging 4.6 yards per carry. And he's number 4 leading rusher in the game. And then you couple that with Kyler Murray being the number 1 rusher and the highest per carry average. He's averaging 11 yards per carry. He's averaging a first time every time he scrambles. And then you couple that with Kenyon Drake averaging 4.6, being the number 4 leading rusher in the National Football League. And then coupling that with a backup in Chase Edmonds. And with a great offensive line. And then a great play caller in Cliff Kingsbury drawing up these incredible run plays. And then an incredible offensive line coach in Sean Cougar that is the key mastermind in turning around this offensive line from 2 years ago, which was full of practice squad players. This team will be a top 3 rushing team at the end of week 17, and I will say it confidently at this point. And that is my first down. You got any thoughts on that?
I will restrain until week 17, when on this show I will clown this fool for how wrong he is.
Right, you know what? And if you're clowning me, okay, because that means they're probably going to be like 5th or 6th, because they finished 10th last year.
Okay, if they finish 5th or 6th, I'll give it to you. Like, in all honesty, I'll give it to you. But I'm going to tell him the same thing. I'm going to tell you guys the same thing I told him, okay? You're asking the Cardinals to do better than these 3 teams, okay? You're asking them to do better than a Lamar Jackson-led offense. You're asking this team to do better than King Henry. And you're asking this team to do better than a Nick Chubb-Kareem Hunt combo. I don't buy it.
Number 1, Nick Chubb still hurt. Kareem Hunt wasn't that good this last week. And number 3, they're number 3 in rushing right now.
I know.
They're doing
right now, but that's right now.
And like, no, and don't give me that's right now. This is week 6 now. You have a large sample size. That's 6 games. That's almost half the season. And they're 3rd. And they're just now hitting their stride offensively in terms of the run game. And this offense still has a long way to go. I'll admit that. This offense still, to me, is kind of playing like shit. This offense hasn't hit its stride, but now they're finding their identity, and it's setting up the passing game by being a running football team, because that's what this offense is. That's truly what this is. It's not the air raid. It's the run raid, Sanders. I've been watching this team for a year and a half now. This is a running football team. Everything they do offensively is 100% set up by successful run game.
Man, I hate the rest of your schedule because the rest of your schedule says there'll be a top 3 rushing team.
That's what I'm saying!
Man.
Because they're about to play a shit defensive line. And now the Seahawks are actually 7th against rushing in terms of yards per carry and total yards given up. But that defensive line is really, really bad. And the Cardinals' offensive line is really, really good. And they're going to bully the fuck out of this Seahawks defensive line. I'll tell you that right now. And then if you couple that with 11 yards per carry on a scramble by Kyler Murray, they're going to put out some rush yards in this game. They just dropped 261 total on the Cowboys on Monday night.
So I think
this is a running football team, Sanders.
I think you already knew this. You do realize you play the Seahawks on Sunday Night Football literally 3 weeks from now?
You mean on Thursday night? Because I'm pretty sure it's a Thursday night game.
Oh, that is a Thursday night game. Never mind. It said 6:20, so I assumed Sunday night. Nope, you're right. Damn, that's so close. It's not even a month away.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, anyway, you know what? I'll give it to him. I'll just let him be for now. I'm going to still clown him in Week 17 if he's not. And you know what's sad is I say I'm going to clown him right now. I will never hear the end of it if he's right.
So I'm starting. It sounds like I'm starting to convince you a little bit because like this isn't me being a homer, Sanders. Like
no,
I'm trying
it's not
really hard not to be a homer because I got all this evidence to back it up.
I just still I can't wrap it around my head that you're
and no, I totally get it. I totally get it, Sanders. Why do you think I made it a Hail Mary originally? Why do you think I made it? Because nobody was going to believe me. Because they're like, oh, the Cardinals' offensive line sucks. Oh, it's the air raid. It's Cliff Kingsbury. All they're going to do is throw the football with DeAndre Hopkins now. No, they're fucking not. They're a running football team, dude. They are. That's what their identity is. It's what it is.
I mean, I can't disagree watching the team, but
maybe they aren't top 3, but there's no way they fall out of the top 10, and I don't think there's any way they fall out of the top 6.
I'm pretty sure they'll be 5 or 6 by the end of it, but who knows? Maybe they do end up being top 3. I still don't buy it, but you know what? Like I said, I'll never hear the end of it after week 17.
And that's fair. That's fair. Just wait until week 17. Even if the Cardinals don't make the fucking playoffs, if they finish as the number 3 or better rushing football team, that is my Super Bowl, and I'm going to clown the shit out of you.
Yeah, I know. I'll never hear the end of it. I already know I'll never hear the end of it. I do know I'll never hear the end of it. So, alrighty.
So what's your first down?
My first down. Baker Mayfield has been exposed and needs a lot of help. I don't know if it needs to be coaching. I don't know if he needs to work on footwork. I don't know if he needs to work on
this is actually interesting.
I don't know what it is. I haven't watched enough Baker Mayfield film, but every Browns game I've watched this year, every time I'm like, Baker Mayfield needs to be better. All 6 games, I've told myself at the end of the game, Baker Mayfield needs to be better.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Stefanski has done a fantastic job of hiding Mayfield's weaknesses, but they were very apparent on Sunday. There was a couple of throws that like Mayfield made, and the one that was so clear. I actually turned the game off to the Bears-Panthers game after this throw, and it wasn't because I was angry. It was just because I was like, I don't need to watch this to know the Steelers are winning this game, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was in the middle of the second quarter, and I had watched every single play, right? Baker Mayfield was about to be sacked, but actually, I think it was I don't remember if it was Cameron Hayward or TJ Watt, but he was about to be sacked, and he escaped the sack. And I was like, oh, throw it, right? And then he threw it off his back foot, and I was kind of a sailor, and I was like, oh, no. Yeah, interception. And I was like, Baker, what are you doing? I'm like, if no one's open, throw it away. You escaped the sack. Just live for another day. Like, I didn't like yell at the TV, but I was like, man, what are you doing? And it's not like I wanted the Browns to beat the Steelers or the Steelers when I could have cared less as you know, a divisional opponent, because either team would have had 5 wins if they won. So it wouldn't have mattered to me because it wouldn't have really affected the standings that much. And then I think it was his first interception to Minkah Fitzpatrick. I know where he was trying to throw, But if he had used his peripherals, he would have known that the cornerback was sneaking up on that throw or was looking for it. It was just a throw you don't make. Baker's the biggest weakness on this offense. Much as I hate to say it. This isn't me hating Baker because I'm fine with his personality this year. I think he's been a very humble guy, and I appreciate that. His commercials are fantastic, actually, this year. But
I like the deepfake Hulu commercials. They're funny.
No, the not Baker Mayfield commercials.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
I like the one where he has the grocery bags and he's yelling for like, "Hey, come help me! I can't reach my keys." But he's. I don't know how to put it other than he's the biggest problem on this offense. The guy who's touching the ball every play is the biggest problem. And that's not a good thing, right? I believe in Baker Mayfield's potential and his talent, but they need to do something else. They need to work on him. Maybe they need to do some more passing schemes against weaker defenses. Like, for example, they play the Bengals this week. Maybe this is the week where you have Baker Mayfield throw a lot and have him work on some things. You're allowed to practice while playing bad teams. You still got to beat them, right?
Right.
But you're allowed to practice. And I think if things started off bad with Baker throwing, then you just say, all right, we're going to give the ball to Kareem Hunt. And that's how we win this game. Or we're going to have Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry do some trick plays or whatever. But
now
he needs to improve.
Now, I don't disagree with you whatsoever. Like, I agree with what you're saying. In terms of just this last week, though, let's give a little bit of credit to the Steelers' defense because that's arguably the best defense in the National Football League, and that's going to make any quarterback look shaky. That being said, Baker, like we've said it, that Baker Mayfield he needs to be a game manager, and that's what the Browns are allowing him to do. But there's got to be time still that he needs to be the guy.
Or you make a clutch or something like that.
Right.
You're the number one pick. You're supposed to do something.
Mm-hmm. And I just don't think he's ready to be the guy. And I like Baker Mayfield. You know that.
I know you do.
I think he will get there. I really do. But it's kind of going to be like, how much time is it going to take? Because how much time does he have? Because this is his third year starting. So at this point, if he doesn't really start showing major improvement within this by the end of the season, you're going to need to start putting red flags up. And even maybe right now is time to start putting up red flags. But I'm not going to say he's not a bust by any means or anything like that. But he's got to start showing improvement. And
he's definitely showing me
right
Kirk Cousins type of play. Like really good, really poor. Well, like for example, he threw 2 interceptions and he played poor. He had a Kirk Cousins game on Sunday. A bad Kirk Cousins game. And there's other times where he has good Kirk Cousins games. Like, Cousins is a very efficient quarterback when he's playing well, right? But Cousins also looks awful when he's playing bad, i.e. last Sunday. So, Baker's starting to enter that kind of territory for me. And he needs to be better than that if this Browns team, which is very capable of winning a Super Bowl down the road. Not this year, but like down the road. It needs a lot of improved quarterback play, and if it got that, I could see this team winning a Super Bowl. It's got the talent for it. If you had some elite QB play, what's to stop them? So, yeah, what's your Hail Mary?
So my Hail Mary, so it's kind of going back to the conversation between Tua and Fitzpatrick, and it's me basically saying that the Fitzpatrick benching overall is a mistake, but something I kind of wanted to compound with that, and I'm gonna say it. Ryan Fitzpatrick should be a Hall of Famer.
Wait a second, that is quite the Hail Mary. Why? I gotta know why. What is going on in your head?
Number one, he's a great personality.
Okay, but that's nothing.
And everybody's like, okay, shut up. Getting to it, let me get to it. Let me explain my reasoning. So number one, it's the great personality. He's been loved by all of his teammates and all of the staff almost everywhere he's gone. He loves the game of football, and he's made a career out of being who he is as a personality and a football player. And there's times where, wow, he could be the best football player or the best quarterback in the National Football League. And then there's times where he's Josh Rosen. But for that reason, he's been a journeyman. He's been on so many different teams. But he's overcome all of that. And to me, he's just very different. He's a very unique kind of guy. And that's something that I think in some ways is Hall of Fame worthy. Being unique. Having that personality. And he's still going to be, when it's all said and done, he's going to be 15th or better in career passing yards. And yeah, maybe he doesn't have the record. Maybe he doesn't have any rings. Maybe he doesn't have any playoff success. Maybe he doesn't have any of the real incredible accolades, but he's still a damn good football player. He wouldn't, and don't say, oh, well, he's not that good. He wouldn't be around still if he wasn't that good. He's a damn good football player. He is a great, incredible football personality. Everywhere he goes, he loves him. He loves the game of football. And I believe for the person he is and the things he's accomplished in this league and the way he's done it is Hall of Fame worthy. And it's not because of the accomplishments. It's because of still what he's done to be who he is. And that's something no other player in football and in the NFL history has ever done. And that's why he should be a Hall of Famer. I love me some Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's a local guy. I like him.
So why not give him something like, for going in your direction, this is for radio and television, so it wouldn't be this award, but why not give him something that would be something similar to like the Pete Rozelle, call it the Ryan Fitzpatrick Award, I don't care, but like you know what the Pete Rozelle Award is, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the award given to like a TV personality,
right,
who has given exceptional contributions to radio and television and professional football. Joe Buck was just awarded it 2 weeks ago. Yeah. So Joe Buck is now a Hall of Famer in the National Football League and the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Maybe an award like that. A guy who wasn't like the best player on the field at all times, but a guy who contributed to the NFL in such a way that was unique. And Fitzpatrick maintaining relevancy as a journeyman, as a guy who entertained and wowed some people on prime time, and other times not so much, but always took everything with class. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, I could buy it in that kind of definition, but you'd have to have some sort of award for it, right? Like he wouldn't be in the discussion for induction into the Hall of Fame like as a player, right? Mm-hmm. He'd be in the discussion if you were to put him into the discussion, it would be more as a person of football or a personality of football. Right. Is that what you're getting at?
So, in the grand scheme, yes. I think still part of it deserves to be a player just because of what he's done as a player. But in the grand scheme, yes, it's more the personality and what he's accomplished and the way he's done it that I think is Hall of Fame worthy, because nobody else has ever done that. And I don't think anybody else ever really will. So, yes, a very hot take. I feel like this is probably one of my better Hail Marys. What do you think?
Man, I wish I would have gone first, because yours is way more insane than mine.
That's what I was saying. Like, I was trying to come up with something good. Because, like, when this Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tua news dropped this week, I was kind of pissed. I was like, Ryan Fitzpatrick's kind of my guy. I really like Ryan Fitzpatrick. And, like, I started a whole little hashtag a little bit. I was like, justice for Ryan Fitzpatrick. And I was like, that's kind of fucked up. I hope he gets traded to a team that needs a quarterback. Because I hope he gets traded to the Cowboys. Maybe he'll... Wouldn't that be awesome if he did get traded to the Cowboys and then led them to a division title in a playoff game, maybe a playoff victory? Just because it's Ryan Fitzpatrick, and I feel like he deserves that.
Okay, so here's my hot take, okay? And it's nowhere near as hot as yours. Now I just feel bad.
Right.
Thanks, fam. You really took it.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. So what if I told you that my hot take as of week 6, obviously this could change. Hot takes always change, right? What if I told you Saints are going to make the playoffs as the number 7 seed and they're going to finish 3rd in their division? almost as a guarantee in my head right now.
Wow. I feel like mine was still better.
Well,
but
this
is still very, very close. Like, because I could see them being a 7th seed, but 3rd in the division. That means you have 3 playoff teams. Because the shocker to me here is that means you have 3 playoff teams coming out of the NFC South. And if I'm seeing a team getting 3 playoff teams in, it's probably not going to be the NFC South. I would pick the NFC West before I pick the NFC South. But give me your reasoning. Tell me, because like I see it. I could see the Saints finishing 3rd in their division. I could see them being a 7th seed. But I want to hear what you have to say.
So obviously this implies that the Panthers are the 2nd, right? And I'd have the Buccaneers finishing 1st, right? And actually, one of this week's games kind of determines this. The Saints and the Panthers do play this weekend. But I looked at the Panthers' schedule and the Saints' schedule, and I said, okay, these are all very winnable schedules, right? For example, the Panthers play the Falcons, they play the Lions, they play the Vikings, they play the Broncos, they play Washington, and they play the Saints twice. And I have them losing to the Chiefs and the Packers, right? But to me, there's 2 automatic losses left on their schedule. Washington, Denver, Detroit, Minnesota, Atlanta. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins. I already got them at 8, right? Let's say they split with the Saints. That's at 9, okay? And then they have another one against the Buccaneers. I have the Panthers finishing with 9 or 10 wins at the moment, right? And then I go to the Saints schedule, right? I go to the Saints schedule. They play the Bears. That's a tough one. They play the Buccaneers right after. That's another tough one that I actually think they'll lose. They play the 49ers. I really don't know. I feel like they beat the 49ers, but I really don't know. What 49ers team shows up? I really don't know. They should beat the Falcons twice. They should beat the Broncos, and they should beat the Eagles. But my point is I got 4 automatic wins on the Saints schedule, okay? And I have like 5 or 6 for the Panthers. Essentially, I have the Saints finishing at 9-7 right now, and I have the Panthers finishing at 9-7, but potentially 10-6.
Okay.
Which is kind of wild, actually, I think. See, now if I would have told you the Panthers are going to finish second, a 2nd seed in their division, and would get like the 6th seed, you probably would have like, that's possible. No, it sounds way better just to say Saints finish 3rd in their division and get the 7th
right.
seed. That sounds way better. So yeah, I think it's a pretty hot take, but it just, Ryan Fitzpatrick is a Hall of Famer. That is the hottest thing I've heard in my life.
Yeah.
I don't think anything I could have said was beating that. I think the only thing that could have beat that was saying Aaron Rodgers was playing worse than Peyton Manning was in his last year. That would beat it.
And that's just not even true.
That's just not even true. Yeah, that's just false. That's just straight up false. So, oh man. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a super hot take, and I'm supposed to believe it, and I kind of believe it. I won't be shocked if the Saints are 10-6 in second, or even win their division at 10-6. I won't be surprised if this division is a dogfight, right? But I really like this Panthers team. I'm genuinely shocked that Matt Rule has come out and been such a great fit for Teddy Two Gloves.
Right. And that's what a lot of people just kind of like wrote off the Panthers. But I don't think they're a playoff team. So that's why when you came with the stake, the reason I think it's hot is because you have 3 teams coming out of the NFC South. And I personally just don't see it because I don't think the Panthers are ready to do that.
And but the Panthers' secondary has been much better than I thought they were going to be as well.
Yeah.
So
just their defense as a whole.
Yeah, way better than what I thought it would be. For losing Luke Kuechly, they're doing just fine. So yeah.
All right.
You want to get to the picks for the week?
Picks for the week.
All right, cool. All right, so in 15 minutes, the Giants and the Eagles starts. Coin flip? Is that what we're doing here?
Honestly, I can't pick Danny Dismal. I'm just going Eagles, and I don't even have a reason to it. No.
So here's what I got, okay? The Eagles scored a decent amount of points against two of the best defenses in the league the last 2 weeks. They scored some decent points against Baltimore and the Steelers. If they can do that, they can do that against the Giants defense. I'm picking the Eagles.
Yeah, I think overall that one's... I wouldn't necessarily say it's easy, but, like, given your reasoning, like, they put up good amount of points versus good defense. Yeah, and I'm not picking Danny Dismal.
Cool.
So.
Steelers and the Titans. Game of the week? Maybe? Maybe?
I would definitely say game of the week. There was a discussion on Arizona Sports. They were like, oh, well, maybe the Cardinals in Seattle. I was like, well, there's 2 undefeated teams playing this week. I'm kind of shocked. It makes sense because Arizona was way closer. But I am kind of shocked.
Sunday night?
Yeah, exactly. And they didn't want to, transport the Sunday Night Football crew all the way across the country. So it makes sense. But, yeah, this is going to be a damn good football game. I love the Titans, dude. I think they are legit. Tannehill is playing – he's not going to win MVP, but he's playing MVP caliber football. Derrick Henry's leading the league in rushing. That defense, it scares me, but they make plays when they need to, and they wouldn't be 5-0 if that weren't the case. Now, on the other hand, the Steelers are, I think, in my opinion, the most well-rounded and best football team in the AFC right now. It's going to be a damn good game. What do you have on these two teams?
I mean, me personally, I think this is tough because I just didn't expect the Titans to be this good, and they've been great.
Mm-hmm. And I thought the Titans were going to be good this season. I didn't think they would start 5-0.
So, actually, there's one thing that happened this last week that convinced me, and I'm going to tell you right now, my pick is the Steelers, okay? This is no discredit to the Titans because I think the Titans are going to give them a hell of a game. I think Taylor Lewin is a massive loss. He's one of the best linemen in football. And against this defensive line, that's kind of scary, I think. I'm not saying Derrick Henry can't create holes anyway or, just run through people anyway. But the Steelers line is a bunch of men, grown-ass men, that I think can take on Derrick Henry. Now, am I telling you Derrick Henry is going to get, stopped or limited? No. He'll probably still run for like 100-plus yards. Or at least have, at minimum, 100-plus scrimmage yards, right? So I'm not saying Derrick Henry won't have a game. I'm saying that this Steelers defensive line, combined with the fact that Taylor Lewin's going to be out, can handle Derrick Henry enough to not allow him to take over the game compared to someone like the Texans last week. Like, it was super obvious as soon as they won the coin flip. Deshaun Watson knew it. The game was over. They couldn't stop Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
He knew it. As soon as they lost the coin flip, he didn't even stick around. He just walked away because he knew the game was over. He knew his defense couldn't stop. I'm saying that the Steelers' defense could stop Derrick Henry if needed to, at least for one drive in a moment like that. And the Steelers' offense is, man.
Clicking.
Yeah. It's firing.
That's an understatement.
Firing on all cylinders, dude. I'm essentially saying the Steelers are the most all-around AFC team through and through. Chris Boswell's a great kicker. I mean, if you need him to win the game for you, he will. There's nothing I don't like about this Steelers team. And I'm not saying, I dislike this Titans team, but there's a couple things I can point out on the Titans side to be like, yeah, this could be exposed at some point. Like, for example, their secondary. I think their front line is nasty. And James Conner might have a rough night. But Big Ben might have himself a night. So that's why I'm picking the Steelers. But I think it should be a great game either way. And not
I think overall I'm going Steelers as well. I just think they're the more well-rounded team. I think this game overall is going to come down to coaching. And it's two really great coaches as well. I really like Vrabel and I really like Mike Tomlin. I think whoever coaches the best game, calls the best plays, is probably going to end up getting their team to win. And just because there are some more glaring deficiencies on the Titans team, yes, they're a very, very good football team. They're 5-0 for a reason. There's not many, if at all, real deficiencies for the Steelers, so I think I got to give it to them. So I'll take the Steelers.
Yeah, but it should be a great game either way. And I won't be surprised if the Titans win either. Just saying. Cowboys and Washington. Fuck. I hate this.
Yeah.
Why are the NFC East matchups this week? Dallas, because I thought a Washington football team could beat the Giants and they lost. If you can't beat the Giants, I think that's a problem. Dallas? And I don't like Kyle Allen. Yeah, Dallas. Yeah, I've convinced myself of picking like one of the worst teams in football to win the game. Wow. Yeah, Dallas. That's what I got. I don't trust Washington's quarterback, and if you can't beat the Giants, I don't understand. I don't even know how I could justify trying to beat the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Cowboys. I don't have much else to say. You pretty much hit all the main points.
Okay, Bills are playing the worst team in football. They're going to beat the Jets. Can we move on?
Yeah.
Cool.
Bills.
Short one. Saints Panthers. Both have 3 wins.
Ooh.
Divisional
Tasty.
It's in New Orleans. As much as I was saying, I think the Panthers will get the 2nd seed, and the Saints are, going to be the 3rd seed. I think the Saints win it at home. I think these teams go 1-1, so I have the Panthers winning in Week 17.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's when it really matters the most. So
for me,
combined with the fact they're in the Dome, and then the Saints team just came off a bye, and hey, they clutched it out on Monday Night Football against the Chargers. I think they should beat the Panthers.
Mm-hmm. For me, overall, yeah, I think because I'm not a big believer in the Saints team. I think just something is a bit off with them. Their defense isn't quite playing up to expectation. Drew Brees is very meh. I think he stepped it up a little bit from the first couple games, but if I needed a game-winning drive, if I needed a game-winning drive, let's just say I'm not wanting Drew Brees to be my quarterback for it right now. That being said, coming off a bye, they're at home against a team that is playing well, but I think is still trying to find themselves. I gotta give it to the Saints. But with that being said, also still probably no Michael Thomas this week, and I know they're still doing okay without him. At some point, this is going to come back to hurt the Saints because I think they really, really need him right now, and Drew Brees really, really needs Michael Thomas right now. So I think this is a little bit harder of a pick for me than I think it is. The game is on paper, but I'll give the edge to the Saints.
All right, cool. Packers and Texans. I'm going to make this one quick, not because I think the Texans are bad, which they are. The Packers just came off of a blowout loss. Do you really expect them to put up another dud? Especially against the Texans. Mm-hmm. This has nothing to do with Texans, more of the fact that good teams don't lose 2 games in a row. They'll lose games, but usually it's not twice in a row. The Texans are in the unfortunate scenario where they have to play against an Aaron Rodgers who had a bad game, and he's going to come out and want to kill whoever his next opponent is. Mm-hmm. That so happens to be one of the worst secondaries in the game, which is what the Texans got. So this could be a close shootout where like Watson puts up a hell of a performance, but I feel like the result would end up like it did last week. Right? Texans blew it to the Titans, lost in overtime. I think that would be best case scenario for the Texans, losing in overtime in a competitive game. Worst case scenario is Rodgers throws 5 touchdowns and this Packers defense shuts you down. That's what I got.
Yeah, I'm pretty much right there with you too. Honestly, I don't think it'll be all that close. I think maybe, yes, the Texans can hang with them for a while, but I think, yeah, Packers coming off a bad game. They're not going to lose 2 in a row. I'm going to take the Packers by a landslide.
All right, you want to go Browns-Bengals?
Browns-Bengals. To me, I still am a believer in the Browns. I still think they're a pretty good football team. Obviously, the Bengals are still rebuilding, but Joe Burrow's played really, really, really well. And this is their second matchup, isn't it?
Yep. First was Thursday Night
Wow,
Football, if you remember.
That came up really quick. Interesting that they have back-to-back division, or not back-to-back division games, but division games against one another so close. But the Browns did win the first matchup. It was a lot closer than we expected. Now that I think they've seen a little bit more film, I think this game is still probably going to be pretty close. And Joe Burrow's playing really well, but I just can't say the Bengals are going to win a football game quite yet confidently. So I'm going to give it to the Browns.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think this Browns team is just better than the Bengals, and that's really what it comes down to overall. Lions and Falcons?
Ugh. That's actually a pretty tough one, and it's not because they're good teams. It's just they're both kind of mediocre.
I think, me personally, this sounds really weird to say. As a whole team, I think the Lions have a higher ceiling. Falcons have a higher ceiling offensively. But I think as a whole team and a whole effort, the Lions have a higher ceiling. I guess I'll just spoil my pick. I was going to let you go first. But that's why I'm picking the Lions again. I thought they were better than the Jaguars. Turns out they really were way better than the Jaguars. And one win against the Vikings isn't going to convince me that you've turned around all your woes.
That's fair. I think I'm actually going to go Falcons for this one. I think they got Julio going in the last game. I think they're doing a lot better offensively. I don't have any faith in this defense. That being said, I think this offense does enough. I think this could definitely be a shootout because, the Lions have a good offense too. Matthew Stafford's no scrub. They got good receivers. They got good running backs. DeAndre Swift is starting to come into his own a bit. So with all that being said, I think I'm still going to go – if it were to be a shootout the way I expect this game to be, I'll take the Falcons in a shootout.
All right, that's totally fair. Buccaneers-Raiders?
Buccaneers-Raiders, what should have been Sunday Night Football game. It's going to be a good one. Nobody should be –
We get this game locally, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I don't think anybody should be writing off the Raiders in any way. I think a lot of people are kind of underestimating the Raiders and what they are. I think they're a pretty damn good football team. They're extremely well coached. They got a great scheme, offensively and defensively. I'm not 100% sold on the Bucs quite yet. Don't get me wrong. They just probably beat the most well-rounded team in the NFC. I'm going Raiders.
I like it.
And it's nothing against the Bucs, but I just saw the Raiders beat the Chiefs. I don't know, man. I really like the Raiders. I think they match up well against this team, and they're a smash mouth football team, and I think that's going to be really good. I've seen BA in this defense. That being said, it's Todd Bowles, so it's not like he's a scrub. But I've seen this. I have firsthand experience with Todd Bowles. I've seen him struggle against smash mouth football teams, and that's what this Raiders team is. I'm going to give it to the Raiders.
I like the pick. I really do. I think it's a great pick. I'm still going to go with the Buccaneers. It's mostly because of their front seven. I think the way you beat the Raiders is you have a monstrous front seven, and that's what the Buccaneers got. And you force Derek Carr to win the game. Now, Derek Carr can win the game. He can. It's not like he can't.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But I think if you throw him in that environment, and you have Derek Carr versus Tom Brady kind of thing, I don't know. Tom Brady's been really good this season. Better than I thought he would be for a guy who's 43. I thought he would have a down season, and he's right back at it. I want to know where the fountain of the youth is, because I'm sure he has the location for it at this point. Yeah. So I think it comes down to a shoot. I feel like this game should be a shootout, right? That's why I was excited for it to be on Sunday Night Football. And I think a Buccaneers win the shootout over the Raiders.
That's fair.
But if it does become a smash mouth pounding ground defensive game, the Raiders probably do win it, which is why I like your pick. But I feel like this game is going to a shootout, and I would pick the Buccaneers offense in a shootout over the Raiders offense, if that makes sense.
That's interesting because we just saw I think that's an interesting pick too, because we just saw the Raiders, win a shootout against the best offense in the National Football League in the Chiefs. So, all right, I see what I mean. Not that I don't buy it, because I mean the Buccaneers are a good team. They got a really good offense, and honestly, I'd almost lean more towards the Bucs if it were to be a shootout. But I don't think it's going to be personally.
The Buccaneers, by the way, do play the Chiefs next week as well.
That will be interesting.
Yeah, it should be. All right, next one I'll take. Jaguars-Chargers. Look, man, the Chargers are the second worst football team in the league. I'm confident in saying that. Because when I look at all these other teams, I'm like, I'd take the Falcons over the Jaguars. I'd take the Lions. I'd take the Bengals over the Jaguars.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't take the Jets over the Jaguars.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm confident saying they're the second worst team in football, and the Chargers are a very competitive 1-4. They're very entertaining.
Mm-hmm. They almost beat the Saints.
Yeah, they're just a very fun football team to watch, even though they lose. So yeah,
I think they're very close to a breakout.
Maybe it could be just that this team needs Derwin James back and a second year under Justin Herbert. Hey, maybe that's a good second year. I really don't know. So. But anyways, yeah, I'm gonna take the Chargers.
Yeah, I'm going Chargers as well. They're the better team. They've been really, really competitive, and I think this is when they'll get a win.
Yep, and Gardner Minshew's also been erratic. That doesn't help either.
Yeah.
49ers Patriots. This one is tough, very tough. Do you want to take it? Or do you want me to take it?
49ers, Pats, I'll take it. For me, so the Patriots had a bit of a stinker this last week. Don't get me wrong, the Patriots are still a really good team, but so far it's looking like maybe Belichick needed Tom Brady a little bit more than we gave him credit for. And don't get me wrong, Belichick is the greatest coach of all time. And I still think this Pats team is really, really good, and they're going to make the playoffs.
But it really helps when your quarterback has, the second most fourth quarter game winning drives ever. Because if Tom Brady would have had Tom Brady, right? He probably would have gotten that touchdown in Seattle and won the game. They'd be 3-2. And on that final drive when Cam Newton almost scored against Denver, that's last weekend, Tom Brady probably would have done it. They should be 4-1.
Mm-hmm.
So far, Tom would have counted for 2 wins that they don't have. Probably.
So the Broncos still have a pretty good defense, and they're facing another really good defense this week with the 49ers, even with their missing pieces. So that kind of worries me a little bit. But I think part of the reason why Cam Newton looks so bad is he's a guy who does still need to practice, and after missing practices due to COVID and missing a game due to COVID and all that, I think that hurt him, and it got him out of rhythm. I feel like Cam Newton is a guy who needs to be in rhythm and be playing and practicing to have good and great success. And that's no knock on Cam Newton. I think he's a good quarterback, but I think he needs to be in rhythm, and he was out of rhythm versus a really good defense this last week. So I think he's going to be back on it. I think he's going to have a bounce-back game. This 49ers team, I still think they're pretty good. They're 3-3 in the best division in football. But I'm going to take the better coach and the better quarterback here, and that's basically what it's going to come down to. I also think overall the Patriots have a better defense now, given the fact that the 49ers have had all these injuries. So I'm going to go Pats.
So I can't tell you how much I really want to pick the 49ers here.
Mm-hmm.
Before I make my pick, let me tell you why I want to pick the 49ers so much. Okay? As much shit as I was really giving Jimmy G and Jared Goff last week, Jimmy G was more or less efficient. He wasn't fantastic, but he was efficient, which is all he needs to be to win a game, right? No interceptions, 3 touchdowns, 280-something yards. That'll win you a game.
If you were watching the game, though, he was icky.
It was a little icky, I agree. But efficient is efficient, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's really all you need to beat this Patriots team is efficiency and a solid defense, which the 49ers got.
Mm-hmm.
I somehow can't buy myself to believe, though, that Bill Belichick's going to allow his team to lose 2 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
I can't buy it, right? I can't imagine him saying, yeah, we lost to a mediocre Broncos team. Let's go ahead and lose to this injury-riddled 49ers team as well while we're at it. I can't buy it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm selling the whole, like, 2 losses in a row thing on Belichick too hard. But I just don't. I can't see a scenario where that happens. My gut tells me I should be picking the 49ers. But logic says that the Patriots don't lose this game.
No, I agree.
I guess my final pick is going to be... shit. I really don't know, man. Do you see a scenario where the 49ers win this game?
I mean, yeah, I do, but I think it's going to take Jimmy G playing well and their defense coaching, or their coaching being better than Bill Belichick, and I just don't. I'm not gonna accept that.
You know what? I'm gonna go Patriots because the Broncos' defensive line mauled the Patriots' O-line, and I don't think the San Francisco line in its current state is gonna maul the Patriots. So I'll pick the Patriots.
All right.
Even if I don't like it that much. All right. So the Chiefs and the Broncos. I mean,
All right, I'm going to say it. He has a decent starting record. I don't think a record should necessarily be a QB stat. I'm going to say it. Drew Lock kind of sucks, dude.
I heavily disagree. I don't think you're watching film if you think that.
Dude, he looked bad last week, and he hasn't really looked good at all so far this season.
Sure, but I mean, he's essentially still a rookie. When has a rookie ever looked good against Belichick? Tell me when.
Okay, yes, that's fair. I'm not buying Drew Lock, dude. I don't buy it. Personally.
I'm still going to pick the Chiefs here because they're just a better team. But this Broncos team should be competitive, I feel, against the Chiefs. Even if the score ends up being 38-24 at some point, I feel like the game should be competitive for a while before the Chiefs take it away, which would lead me to a Chiefs win.
For me, obviously, I'm picking the Chiefs here. Let's also keep in mind this will be Le'Veon Bell's first action with the Chiefs. And I think they're probably going to have quite a few packages for him, and we're going to see a pretty good Le'Veon Bell. He's going to be behind a good offensive line. He's going to be behind a mastermind offensive coordinator and coach in Andy Reid. I think Le'Veon Bell is going to have a bit of a renaissance rest of the season. Even with Clyde Edwards-Helaire there, I think it's going to be an incredible 1-2 punch. I'm taking the Chiefs here. I don't think it'll necessarily be that close. I think the Broncos are going to get destroyed.
All right,
Broncos are bad.
All right, Seahawks Cardinals. I'm gonna take this one. Here's why.
Go ahead.
Because I know you'll go off anyway. So I'm gonna take.
Oh yeah, I got quite a bit to say on this. I think it's going to be an incredibly good game. But go ahead.
Okay, so the Seahawks are one of the best offenses in the league right now. DK Metcalf is incredible. Chris Carson is fantastic. And Tyler Lockett's a great second fiddle to DK Metcalf. And Russell Wilson is just the mastermind behind it all. Their opponent is against a Cardinals defense who, looking at their schedule, let me be fair here. As a guy who really wants the Cardinals to win this game, I need to take this from a serious perspective, not as a, man, I want the Cardinals to win, so I'm gonna say the scenario where they win. That's not what I'm gonna do. I'm going to tell you right now that the Cardinals' opponents have not been very good offensively. Okay, so a part of the reason for their defensive success is partially that Budda Baker is like probably the best safety in the game at the moment, but also the fact that they're playing Washington, Detroit, New York Jets, and the Cowboys without Dak Prescott. I would hope your defense plays well against those four teams. I would hope so. I really would hope so. Okay? And they had a good effort against the 49ers. The only time where they really blew it was against the Panthers.
And that was with no Budda Baker.
Yeah. This is a really, really big step up. You went from Jimmy G to Dwayne Haskins to Matt Stafford to Teddy B to Sam Darnold to Andy Dalton to suddenly Russell fucking Wilson.
Right.
This is quite the litmus test for this defense, and I can't tell you whether they're up to the task or not. I could say Budda Baker's the best safety in the field, but what does that mean for the rest of the team, right? I could tell you that their pass rush has actually been just fine without Chandler Jones, but what does that mean when Russell Wilson is evading everyone, right? Like, what does it mean when you play a mobile quarterback, right? I don't know, because they haven't done that yet. The one mobile quarterback they played against, they lost. It was Teddy B, right? So if I'm being realistic, I don't know how this defense is going to play against Seattle, and I don't know if they'll look like the number 2 defense in the league against Seattle, and I don't know if they'll look like the number 2 scoring defense against Seattle. What I can tell you is that this Cardinals offense should run all over this Seattle defense, because the Seattle's defense is just a bottom 3 defense. I don't think they're the worst. I think that belongs to Dallas. But they're certainly a bottom 3 defense. I think they're like number 6 right now, in number 7 in points, 7th lowest in points. So they let opponents score, and I think they're bottom 3 in yardage, if I remember correctly. This game's going to be a shootout, right? And if I go with tradition, this game's in Arizona, so Seattle should win it. If I go by tradition, because traditionally Arizona wins in Seattle, and Seattle wins here in Arizona. I'm going against the tradition, and I'm going to pick the Cardinals because I'm actually
shocked.
I thought their coming out party was going to be Monday Night Football against the Cowboys, and while yes, you could argue that it was 38-10, that's not what I wanted. I wanted a Kyler Murray blowing everyone up kind of deal, and I wanted it to be against Dak Prescott, and neither of those things happened. I think the Cardinals had a great game because they played a bad team. The Cardinals are a good team who played a bad team, and that's what happened. This is against Seattle, who's a pretty good team. Not amazing because their defense lacks, but they're a really good team. Like I said, history says Cardinals should lose this because they're playing in Glendale, and the Cardinals don't beat Seattle in Glendale. I think it's going to happen this week. I think Kyler Murray is going to take advantage of the Seahawks defense, and I think people are going to finally see that his incredible, beautiful throws against Dallas and his runs were not just because it was Dallas. It's because Kyler Murray is that kind of player, and this Cardinals team is for real. I think they win this game.
I'm actually shocked you said that. So even prior to today, because honestly, I've been going back and forth on this game even before Monday night. I felt pretty confident. I didn't think the Cardinals were going to do what they did on Monday night, but I felt pretty confident they were going to win. And then when they went out and did what they did, I was like, holy shit, this team's actually good. That was the first time this season I thought, okay, this Cardinals team is good. They have the chance on Sunday to say, we're not good, we're great. And not only are we a playoff contender, if you beat Seattle on Sunday Night Football and do it convincingly, that's a Super Bowl contender. And you know I've been tempering my expectations on the Cardinals all offseason and season long. I was not going to allow myself to be disappointed. And that's why I'm having such a good time so far this year, is they are exceeding my expectations. And this is the first time that they've exceeded my expectations ever. I'm having a great time as a fan. Now, outside from my fan perspective, here's what I'm thinking as a head couch analyst. This Seattle defense, as you've said, is not good. They are 7th against the run, but I don't think this might be me. As Cardinals have top 5 offensive line right now in the National Football League, and I think they're going to destroy this defensive line, which is starved for talent. I think their ability to stop the run is from their great defenders named Bobby Wagner and Jamal Adams. Oh, by the way, Jamal Adams probably isn't playing this game. And even when Jamal Adams has been playing, this defense has not been good. Imagine this defense, how bad it would be if Jamal Adams hadn't been playing at all so far this year and hadn't been a Seahawk. That's a big reason why I'm more leaning Cards. And this is, honestly, I've gone back and forth all day. I'm still not even convincing myself yet. I'm not sure what I'm picking yet. So that being said, I think Kyler Murray is going to have a really great game. He only completed 9 passes on Monday night. He didn't have the best showing throwing the football, but he was super, super impactful. That's the thing about Kyler Murray is even when he's playing poorly, he's putting his team in a position to win football games. He threw 3 picks against the Lions, and they lost by 3 points. This is a good Cardinals football team. And now, yes, you can say the Cardinals defense, yes, it is number 2 in the National Football League in terms of scoring, and they are the number 1 red zone football team. The Cardinals, in every major statistical category defensively, are top 10 or top 5. And you could say, oh, well, a big part of that's a competition. And yeah, I agree, but it's a 6-game sample size. You can only play who's put in front of you. And at the end of the year, the 6 games they played already is going to go into where their defensive rankings are. Do I think the Cardinals have the second best defense in the National Football League? No. Right now, I'd probably peg them towards the end of the year, 12th, which is more than enough. I was hoping 20th this year. That was my hope for this defense. Compared from dead last year, I was hoping for 20th. If they finish 12th or even 16th, and then you couple it with an offense that's finding its stride, the Cardinals are going to be okay. Now, this game on Sunday, Cardinals and Seahawks games get fucking weird, and that's why this is so hard to pick. It's going to be a weird game. Some weird shit's going to happen, and whoever is the victim of that weird shit is going to lose the game. That being said, the only reason I am picking the Cardinals in this game, because I think it's going to be a bloodbath. I think it's going to be an extremely close game, lots of offense. I will be happy if the Cardinals hold this offense, the number 1 scoring offense of the National Football League, under 31 points. I'll be happy. It's going to be a high-scoring affair. It's going to be lots of fun. It's going to be a great game to watch. And I'm going to say it. I think the Cardinals are going to announce themselves as contenders, and they'll be 5-2 at the end of Sunday.
So this is the biggest game that Pardue has gotten to watch for the Cardinals, and I would argue
years,
4 to 5 years. So that's why I let him get on his soapbox. He went off for a total of 6 minutes. Congratulations. When they got flexed today, I was sitting on the couch and I was like, "Wow, okay, I haven't had this feeling in 5 years." My team, and a big part of the reason why I got flexed because of COVID. But I was like, wow, I haven't had this feeling in a while. And on Monday I said, wow, this is the biggest football game the Cardinals have played in about 5 years. And then I told myself, with each win, the games are just going to get bigger. The game on Sunday, even before it getting flexed, was huge for the Cardinals. The biggest game in 5 years. This has such a huge impact on the division going forward. And they're playing an undefeated Seattle team with the number 1 scoring offense in the league. This is their chance to put themselves back in the national spotlight. And damn, I am so excited because I don't get this often. So I'm just going to be the troll because I love trolling you. This is also very much a chance for me to see your entire Twitter just be pain.
Oh, yeah. And for me personally, I know that if the Cardinals lose on Sunday, if they get absolutely destroyed, I'll be upset. But I don't expect them to get absolutely destroyed. I don't think that's going to happen. If the Cardinals lose on Sunday, I'm not going to be that mad. Russell Wilson's the fucking MVP of this league right now, and they're an undefeated football team. And I'll be okay with being 4-3 heading into our bye week. But if we win, man, I'm going to be hype.
Oh, I would be too. So let's talk about a game that maybe doesn't carry as much hype for Pardue over here, but I'm really looking forward to Monday night's game. And it's the Bears and the Rams. This game has a lot of NFC seeding implication just in week 7. This game determines like 5, 6, and 7 seeds, if not division winners, because of how NFC standings could work, right? Like let's say the Rams tie with the Cardinals or Seattle for the division, then how did you perform in the NFC is what is the tiebreaker, right? How you performed in the division first is the tiebreaker. But then if that doesn't work, how did you perform against the NFC? So this is a big game for both of these teams. It's the Bears and the Rams. It's going to be in LA, so there's going to be no fans. I wanted to spend a lot of time on this game, actually, but we spent most of our time on the Sunday night game, and we're almost approaching 2 hours. So,
sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm gonna give a quick rundown of what I was thinking. I think the 49ers had a pretty good game plan against the Rams, and despite the fact that it wasn't the cleanest of wins, the 49ers did what they were supposed to do, and I think the 49ers kind of exposed the Rams. Because all 4 of their wins are against the NFC East. And as much as I really want the Rams to be good, because I like it when the Rams are good, if they lose this game badly to the Bears, I might start reevaluating those 4 wins and chalk it up to it being the NFC East.
Yep.
And I actually think they're going to lose badly here. I don't know how Jared Goff is going to handle this defense. Maybe he plays well. Maybe Sean McVay comes up with a great game plan. I don't foresee that happening. Regardless of how... This game could be either pretty high scoring or really dirty really quick. I feel like this game is going to be slow, boring, and dirty. And it's the kind of defensive game that I like to watch. I love watching a 17-14 slugfest. I'm a defensive guy. I love watching those games. And that's kind of what this game reminds me of, a 17-14 slugfest. And it's the better defense who wins the game. Love Aaron Donald, but he's not the entire Rams defense. And the Bears defense as a whole is better than the Rams defense, even though the best defensive player is on the Rams. So barring like Aaron Donald just mauling Nick Foles and making him wish he wasn't there, I don't see a scenario where the Rams defense takes over this game, and I think the Bears defense continues their swarming ways, and they become 6-1, which is so crazy to me. Because I did not like this Bears team at 3-1. I didn't like them at 4-1. I'm kind of cautious about them in 5-1, and I don't think I'll be able to doubt them if they go 6-1. So yeah, but I am picking the Bears here.
Yeah. So where I was kind of going with this game is I just watched putrid-ass Jared Goff struggle against the depleted 49ers defense. How is he going to do against the Bears defense? And that's basically where I was cutting it off. On top of that, another thing that really concerns me and irritates me about the Rams offense is their running back situation. Just fucking center this offense around Darrell Henderson already. He's been consistent and really, really good every time he's been given the ball. He was averaging 6.5 yards per carry. And I think he had 11 carries in the last game. Feed him. What is Sean McVay doing? Stop trying to get this Malcolm Brown guy involved. He's trash. And Cam Akers is hurt. I get that. But he's a rookie. And Darrell Henderson, he is the lead back. And it's time to start treating and feeding him like it. I don't think that happens this week, though, because they're facing a very good defense. That being said, I don't trust Jared Goff to try and... If the Bears are able to shut down the run, which I expect them to be able to against this Rams team, I don't think the Rams stand a chance. So it's so weird that I'm picking the Bears after all this shit I've been talking about them. And even at 6-1, I still think they're on the way for massive regression.
They go and beat.
But with their start,
they go and beat the Saints, and they'll be 7-1. I still think that regression is coming.
I do, and I probably will. Because when I'll watch that Saints game, the Bears will look like dookie ass.
But at 7-1, who cares, dude?
And their point differential will be 16 after all of that, and be 7-1, and they have their point differential be 16, and I still won't like them.
You know what's gonna happen?
But I'm gonna go Bears.
You know what's gonna happen? They could win the Super Bowl by 1 point. Their total point differential over 19 games is going to be 30 points, and he'll be like, man, I don't know about this Bears team next year.
I'll tell you what, because I think the Bears are going to make the playoffs at this rate.
At this rate,
especially if they start 6-1. If they start 6-1, which I expect them to, it's going to be very hard to regress to a point where you're not going to make the playoffs with an expanded playoff.
they probably start 6-1, right?
Win a playoff game, yeah.
And they have the Jaguars, the Texans, and 2 Vikings games on their schedule.
Mm-hmm.
They win at least 3 of those 4, right?
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, Bears.
They've got a tough gauntlet coming up after the Rams. They have the Saints, the Titans, then they got the Vikings thrown in there, but then the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
That Packer game is that Sunday night? I don't know if November 29th is a Sunday night. It looks like it's a Sunday night. Yeah, that's the Sunday night after Thanksgiving. Yeah, it's a Sunday night game. Of course, you can't have a Bears Packers game without Sunday night. That would be like against NFL tradition. So, yeah, that's how we got the week. We are at a full 2 hours. Congratulations to us. Yeah, thanks so much to everyone else for listening. You got anything else, Pardue, before I sign us off?
I think that's about it.
All right, so we had a lot of stuff to cover up. This will be out, obviously, after the Giants-Eagles game, so obviously that result will have been over. Who knows? Maybe it was a good game. Maybe it was a bad game. As of right now, when I go look at the game, I believe the game is 7-0. Maybe it's changed since I last looked at it. But it's still 7-0, so I don't think it matters that we were there for that game or not. So, as I said, thank you so much to everyone for listening. Follow the show at Head Couch Analysts, HC Analysts, or follow Pardue at HC AS Pardue 97.
Pardue, yes.
Yep. Or you can follow me at HCJC Sanders. So that's it from us. We will be having a special guest next week. So if you're a Cardinals fan, look out for that. We'll have 2 Cardinals fans on this podcast. We'll talk about the Cardinals even more. I can't wait. Woohoo! All right. That episode will either be very painful or full of way too much hype for this team. So.
Oh, man, if we win, me and Tristan going off.
All right. And that'll be us, Head Couch Analysts.